Joseph Rosa is our guest, director of the University of Michigan Museum of Art, on Damian Farrell's Damian on Design on the Lucy Ann Show, 1290 WLBY. Over this last year, 3 Michigan architects, Osler, Metcalf, and Brigham, have been profiled. And this all comes to a conclusion, in October?
Yes.
Sunday, October 5th, 2 to 6 p.m. at the University of Michigan Museum of Arts, and a series of talks. Talk about that.
Oh, sure. So what we wanted to do with this series, when Nancy Bartlett and I were collaborating, we're co-curators, she's brilliant.
Over at the Bentley Historical.
We had her on the show a few weeks ago. Right?
She's an amazing treasure of knowledge.
Yeah.
So we talked about we wanted to do something to celebrate it. We're also doing a book from this, which will come out next summer.
Oh.
So next summer we'll have a small UMMA book,
Okay.
about 80 pages, I think. And then we'll do something with A2 Modern, probably do one house of each one of the 3 architects, and then come back to the museum, celebrate the book, and have some beverages.
Mm-hmm.
This symposium, what we're doing, it's split. One portion is, session 1 is architecture, and that's, I give a keynote, basically positioning East Coast, West Coast.
Okay.
To situate them. That's why the title is 3 Michigan Architects, which is a riff off of the famous book by Esther McCoy, 5 California Architects.
We only need 3.
We only need 3. Exactly. And then in my session, I give a keynote, and then we have Monica Ponce de Leon, previous deans, Monica Ponce de Leon, Doug Kelbon, and Bob Bentley in reverse chronology as well, moderated by Claire Zimmerman, who's at the School of Architecture and at the Art History Department, to talk about, the emergence, like you just said. Were they known? What was going on?
Right.
Were they under the radar? And we're not going to be talking about theoretical concepts. It's more about a general celebration of these architects, and we want to hear more about who they were as people, what was the work like, that kind of an aspect, and bring it into a general audience dialogue. The second half, which is Nancy Bartlett, talks about the archive, which is quite cool. It's not just about you get an archive and it's dead in the corner. She's talking about a living archive, new photos coming on the buildings, rethinking those buildings.
Because these things are so topical in Ann Arbor right now, aren't they? Yeah.
And they evolve. So it's really
so much
about
material being gathered.
preservation, but reconstruction and living with the modern.
Right.
What does that mean? And we have 3 participants, which is Greg Sedana, is it
Craig Borum.
Craig
Craig
Borum,
Borum, yeah.
who are both
He's on the faculty as well, right?
Both of them are, and they're both architects doing work on these houses. They both have their own aesthetic sensibility, but they're respecting them, but helping them come forward. And then Nancy D, which we refer to Nancy B and Nancy D, about the role of, A2 Modern and making these homes understandable and part of the cultural legacy of the community.
And that's Nancy Duramedy with the Bentley as well, and Nancy Bartlett, who is going to be doing the keynote, and your moderator, Claire Zimmerman from the...
Right, she'll moderate that as well.
Can you talk about the collections at UMMA that are specifically design and furniture related? Because this is something that I think not a lot of people know about. I think most people associate UMMA with its painting or sculpture collections.
Sure. Well, and also, when you're lucky enough to have 5 Picasso paintings and, Whistler Rodin and name it, we have it, so to speak, we're quite fortunate, which makes us a regional art museum, in my mind, part of a brilliant research university. But since we had this great Dec Arts collection with amazing Tiffany works, I don't think people realize when they sit under those chairs that they're sitting under the Tiffany chandelier from the Havermeyer house, and it's working. So since we have this really wonderful Wiener Werkstatt collection, thanks to Marie Muschenheim.
Okay.
So recently a collection came into the museum that was a bequest of design pieces that go from 1900 into the 60s. And it made so much sense that we show this collection. So we have Breuer for the Bauhaus, Kem Weber, we have Nakashima, Eames, Florence Knoll. So we wanted to make a permanent installation of that would hinge onto the Dec Arts, so it visually completes itself. We then also did a contemporary section from 70s to present. We did purchase our first contemporary piece, which is Helion Gurius Puff, or Puff, as she says. But then we borrowed 7 chairs from SF MoMA, which is going under a massive edition, and they allowed me to borrow 7 chairs from the many I brought in when I was there as the head of the department. So we have Frank Gehry to the Campana brothers.
Right.
We have Mark Newsom, we have Nacho Carbonell with his lover's bench, where you can be intimate in public. The cool thing about the installation, it shows you it's a materiality evolution from what the 30s was to mid-century to today, And our goal is that it parallels contemporary art. You can look at art and furniture the same lens, let's say. And the show was co-curated with, I did that with our co-curator, who was my Mellon Curatorial Fellow, who is quite amazing, Katie Brion, and she's an 18th century scholar. So she was looking at 20th century, and she brought great insight into it.
Okay.
So hopefully people will pop up there.
Oh, that'd be fascinating to see. And it speaks to what we talk about, the fact that design impacts all of us.
Yeah.
Exactly, because design is the everyday experience, and people don't realize that. Or sometimes people will say, if they go to Treasure Mart in town, which is like I have to stop there every 2 weeks. It just has to happen. Because it's very good
Treasure is the right
thing.
word.
Yeah,
Yes.
very good thing.
Mhm.
But people have this fear, oh, I grew up with that. Is that important? So, and you want to help them invert that. Yes, you grew up with that, and that speaks to your childhood and what a lovely experience you had with it, or not. But it was part of your culture, and to understand that design, from what the cups you drink out of, the furniture you sit on, the clothing you wear, just by what you pick is a statement. Or even by what you don't pick is a statement. It's not a luxury. It's an everyday element in one's life. Your home, your furniture, your car, your clothing, it reflects you, and you should always enjoy all those facets of your life while you're doing your job.
For more information about the University of Michigan Museum of Art, you can go online to umma.umich.edu, and a great example of everything that is in the collection and what you have. Also information about the upcoming symposium, Three Michigan Architects, Osler, Metcalf, and Brigham. The date is Sunday, October 5th, 2014. It'll run from 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock, and it'll be at the Helmut Stern Auditorium at the University of Michigan Museum of Art. Do you still have the table? I can't remember what floor it's on.
The dialogue.
The dialogue table is so cool.
Well, they're going to make people sad at the museum. The dialogue table recently went away.
Oh.
But here's the good thing. So the quality of all the films that were on the dialogue table, now the museum has Wi-Fi in it. And the dialogue table was needing a little bit more resuscitation than we could handle.
Okay.
So now all of those films are going to be available through our website, but also through the Wi-Fi in the gallery.
You could pull up, if I remember
You
correctly.
would click, you do this visual gesture with your hand, which is making a snap visual gesture. And you could get anything that was in the collection. We've gotten many awards, and that is really, the success of that table and the visual content is thanks to our Deputy Director of Education, Ruth Slavin, who's brilliant, one of the best educators I've ever worked with, who understands subject matter and wants to know what you're thinking about instead of telling you what to think. And that's why the quality there is so good.
It's moved into a new format.
It's moved into a new
life,
dimension.
Yeah, new dimension.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but there's still there's a trace of it on the floor, but that's going to be polished out soon.
What is your thought on what is going on in Detroit with the Detroit Institute of Arts, the bankruptcy, the controversy over the art collection and what should happen to it?
Well, I think what what Graham Beale is doing is so commendable, and I don't think Detroit realizes the positive what this is doing for the art world.
Right.
Because when we get together, there's a directors association. We get together twice a year, and it's everybody from the U.S. and some from Canada. Graham has really helped the art world think differently about what does it mean when you have works that have been gifted to you or you've used funds in your history that might not even be you, that your institution has naturally purchased, because that's what tax money might have gone to back in the 20s or 30s. Right. And to be proactive on what does this mean to secure your collections. And Graham is doing absolutely the right thing. I mean, I don't think a world without art. Art is going to inspire. Art has been known to single-handedly help kids grow beyond where they grew up.
Right.
And the sooner you get kids exposed to art, I believe in getting them in car seats, their parents will follow. That is the world that takes them beyond where they are, and that's where they can grow and see. So I think what's taking place on Graham's end, and the support that's coming forward from the automotive industry, even Toyota, I think is brilliant, especially Toyota, because it's showing Detroit is global. It is a global city, and it has an important value. And the art is also extremely important. And it is there, it belongs to everyone in Michigan, and it really should not be sold.
Can you imagine if it had scattered?
It would be unfortunate. It would just I think it would make Detroit take a huge nosedive. Because it's
we're
one of the
fortunate because we've
savers.
got a handful of people here who really understood that and understand it, and who really pulled together to save this. And I
It's
agree.
part of its resurrection, isn't it?
Oh,
you know,
exactly.
it's
Well,
just-
it speaks to the art collectors that represent Michigan. I mean,
Yeah.
the people that believe in the art as a transformative experience, whether they're involved at Cranbrook or Michigan, they believe in it.
Yeah.
They're all part of that. And it's essential that we secure it for future generations to come. It's just not now. You know, there's one or two universities that have tried to sell artwork to pay their bills. And when that happens, they kind of get chastised by the association. We're not allowed to loan to them. We basically kind of
really?
cut them off. Because we need to help them, when this
Yeah.
happens, explain to their board or their leaders, and even a freestanding museum in Delaware, that this is not acceptable behavior, because the work was intended to be with you. Art should be sold to buy other art, not pay your bills. And one thing they don't realize when they do this, if you do that, no one's going to give you art again, and no one might give you money.
Yeah.
Because people who have money that they want to give to you most likely have art and they love art. So if you sell your art, you're cutting your nose to spite your face for your legacy to
It's a
continue.
quick run into the cul-de-sac, isn't it?
Exactly.
Joseph, has it changed the way, when you get together with your colleagues and contemporaries, has it changed the way you're thinking about museums in any way at all?
Very much so. It's
Has-
changing the way people are thinking about gifts,
Okay.
how things, well also, you know, many museums receive state funding. So it raises that other question. And most places are receiving less and less every year. So conversation has been to become more independent, if you can, from the state support. So you're not beholden to certain things. And the reality is anyone who understands money, when you give money, it's no longer yours. You can't go get it back. When you make a gift that's your tax-deductible gift, let's say, you can't go retrieve it.
Yeah.
It has been dealt with.
Yeah.
So it has changed, and I think museums across the U.S. are evaluating and looking into their historical documents
Yeah.
of how things have come in. The other side of the coin, what it's doing is more and more people who want to gift an object to you are almost more insistent that in the legal document it say you will not sell
Being
it.
protected.
And that's not a bad
Yeah,
idea
that's-
because
yeah.
leadership changes,
Right.
and the legal document is the only breathing document that goes beyond death. So
Yeah.
it's important.
And hopefully art as well.
Exactly. That's right behind it.
Thank you very much to Joseph Rosa. He is the director at the University of Michigan Museum of Art. Damian Farrell from Damian Farrell Design Group and Damian on Design each week here on 1290 WLBY. Great job. You are fascinating. So lovely to have you on.
Just